Hi guys, and welcome back to another episode of Rebuilding Stockport, the Analysis Days, the end of Season 10. Now, as you can see, we've won the league. I can't actually remember what I showed you, because I recorded these yesterday, and it's sort of a brand new day for me right now. I'd recorded a lot, and I kind of just needed to have a little break, particularly after the amount of energy that it took up to actually do that City game. I was, well, as you can probably tell, on top of the world. Apparently, our pivotal match for us winning the league was actually the 4-0 home win over City, but I feel like the one where we beat them on their own patch to win the title was probably a bit more pivotal, in all honesty. That does mean, though, that we beat City 6-0 over the aggregate score this season, which is bloody fantastic, if you don't mind me saying so myself. That was our best ever Premier League finish, not a huge surprise there. Successes in football underpin the claims of the legions of supporters manager, the greatest Danish manager of all time, boy. I'll take that. Let's have a look, actually, at the Danish Hall of Fame. See how close we are. So, Ebbe Skovdal, the Brøndby manager. So yeah, we've overtaken it. 4 domestic divisions, 1 cup, 2 other trophies, and obviously we've got we've got a Europa League in there too, which I imagine counted for a fair amount of stuff and whatnot. So Michael Laudrup, wow, we're above a lot of people actually. So yeah, Jonas Svenningsson, from Greenlandic-born player, Danish international, and now the greatest manager in Danish history. Hopefully we'll get this score up a little bit, of course, before the end of the save. Now, just on the end of the save, when that does come around, I've locked it in. Building a nation will be the next save. That is absolutely nailed on happening now, and I'm really looking forward to doing that. But of course, we've still got lots of stuff to do here. Now, I've narrowed it down, either Poland or Hungary. That's the ones that have got the best rules relating to foreign players. And I think that's really, really important, because in order to make this save work, we're going to have to be able to sign a lot of players that are non-EU and foreign in general, because after we get to a certain point, we're not going to be able to sign other Hungarian or Polish players or whatever, because, you know, the whole point is to strengthen the league and not take players away from other teams. And I've looked at this, and the other teams that people were suggesting and stuff, and the teams that I was kind of interested in, like when you look down this list that I've got here, Austria, maximum of 7 non-EU, which isn't too bad, but they have like wage budget limits in terms of turnover, which could cause us problems. Bulgaria, it's a maximum of 5 non-EU, and you're only allowed 3 of them in the actual squad. Croatia, no more than 8 non-EU in the playing 11, which isn't too bad. Czech Republic, no more than 5. Greece, no more than 5, and no more than 8 in the actual squad overall. Hungary, no more than 5 non-EU in the playing 11, which still isn't great, but lots of nations are counted as EU, and lots of African and Caribbean nations are also counted, so I'm all right with that. It's not too bad. Romania, only 4 non-EU. They do have a few African and Caribbean countries there potentially too. Slovakia, only 5. Slovenia, only 3. Switzerland, they're allowed 10 at the maximum. Poland, now this is the thing. The first season, Poland are only allowed a maximum of 2. But if we get the right database, when they put in the proper rules for next year, it becomes unlimited in the second season. And that could be quite nice. Cyprus, it's a maximum of 5 and only 3 in the squad, I believe, so that's still not great. So that's kind of where I was looking at. So Hungary, because, you know, 5's reasonable, but then it's got loads of countries counted as non-EU, as EU, loads and loads of them, which is pretty damn good. Romania's got some of that as well, but I'm still leaning towards Hungary or Poland. It would probably be Polonia Warsaw or Vasas SC of Hungary, because they're a Budapest team, which is brilliant because they could overthrow some teams. They're in the second tier, and it's perfect, frankly, because that way, the mistake I think I made with building a nation with Midtjylland was that the team I'd chosen with Midtjylland, they were already a good side in Denmark, which means we weren't adding a new team to the top of Denmark. We weren't strengthening the country over a whole. We were just strengthening one of the top teams already. So I feel like if we add a new team to it, it could definitely be better. Not only that, but I think that was one of the other mistakes, is we became so powerful so quickly that I think the save, I don't know if it got boring a little bit, but it became a little bit difficult to motivate. And I feel like if we start lower, we get the actual conquering the league aspect of it first. And not only that, I wanted to choose leagues that don't have huge numbers of fixtures as well, because that way, towards the late game, we'll be concentrating more on Europe, which means I can breeze through the fixtures off camera for the league after that, and it'll be fairly simple. So it won't get too boring. We won't have long seasons of just meaningless games. So that's why I'm looking at those two in particularly anyway. So right, let's get on and show you guys the actual leagues while I take a little sip of my coffee, because of course we didn't do that in the last episode, because we always do it in here now. So let's go quickly have a look at the other leagues around Europe, if I can remember how I got back to this page. We might as well have a look on here. Top goal scorers, second best defense. That's more like it, lads. Right, have a sip of my coffee and try and find the right button. It's just occurred to me that, of course, I could just do it from the other menu. So right, there we go. Here's our league, of course. That has to be the tightest ever finish to a Premier League season. 4 teams separated by 2 points for the title, and 3 teams tied on the same number of points to win the league, but we won it because of our plus 58 goal difference. Also, can we just point out, going into the final day of the season, Man City were top of the league, and they finished 4th in the end. That is crazy. Really, really crazy. And also, a word has got to go out to Bristol City, who won 7-0 against Stoke on the final day in order to keep themselves in the Premier League. Like, you didn't need to do that much, lads. That is that's a bit overkill. That's truly fantastic. I couldn't believe it when they actually did that. Abasolo, what a lad. I'm really hoping Bednar wins Player of the Season. I don't think that stuff's been announced yet, though. So, yeah, we'll have to make do. Championship. I don't know how far we are along with this sort of stuff now. Probably somewhere in the playoffs, if I had to guess. So, the playoff final... yeah, the final has been surely... What do you mean the round will be drawn? Have they not played all the games? It looks like they've played all the games. Okay, so Southampton and Fulham are coming up. Southampton got 101 points. Fulham got 97. Cardiff and Palace are in the final. I guess it has to be. Portsmouth, Hull and Fleetwood Town go down. Fleetwood Town in the Championship, by the way. Oh, look at this. A Fulham player called Alan Riley banging in the goals. I assume he's a striker. Oh, my lord. 6 foot tall. He's not bad, is he really? Besides, we've got John Vere. We don't need him. So, yeah, fair play to him. That's not too bad. Good to see Fulham back in the Premier League again, bouncing around, as they do. It's Bury do yet another season in the Championship, by the way. Playoff final in League One is Plymouth versus Preston, so Plymouth could go back to the Championship. Crewe back into the Championship with Birmingham. Oldham and Bolton failed to do so. Rochdale, Forest Green, MK Dons and Swindon leaving the Championship. Any strange teams that I see there? Not particularly. Back down into League Two. Let's have a little gander. Coming up out of League Two, the playoff final... Well, we've only got the first leg, so Orient, Wigan, Stevenage and Scunthorpe in the playoffs at the moment. Coming up, Lincoln City, AFC Wimbledon and Telford United, ladies and gentlemen. That is quite something. Telford United are promoted to League One. Telford, lovely part of the country. My dad used to work there. Really, really nice. Also, just noticed down at the bottom, Boston United maintained their play. They managed to stay in the Football League. Massive props to them. But Walsall, who are perennially a sort of League One sort of team, have been relegated from the Football League with only 9 wins this season, along with Newport County, which is a big, big shame for them. Billericay sort of languishing at the moment. Can we talk about how Salford have just disappeared? I think they had 1 season in the Football League, and despite all of that, have just buggered off into complete obscurity. Fair play to Telford United. That's what I would say about that one. Right, let's find a different league. Moving over to League... now, over in France, I mean, PSG won it. Is anybody really that surprised? So yeah, 98 points. At least they weren't unbeaten this year. Olympique Lyon coming second. Monaco up in third. They're not too bad. Marseille grabbing a spot there too. Nice and Lille. Anyone surprising? They haven't finished the league yet, technically. Reims are relegated. Le Havre and Caen could still stay up. Don't think anyone's that surprising. Angers doing... Well, bloody hell. Amiens. Then again, I guess the Jamie Lane legacy of them has not left them entirely just yet. Looking in the second tier of France, maybe any surprises? I'd love to see Paris FC do well. They've only just survived. Bourg-Peronus go down along with Créteil-Lusitanos. Again, I do apologise for my pronunciations of these things. And QRM, they sound like a tech company. Coming up is Chamois-Niortais, Dijon, and wow, Nantes were in the second tier. Bloody hell. And Stade Lavallois. Strasbourg, okay, decent. I know for a fact that one of my subs is a die-hard Strasbourg fan, so I'm sure you'll be happy to see them sort of doing well, I guess. So that's nice. So, right, let's move on to a different league. And now we're in the Fußball Bundesliga. Bayern basically have won it. Well, yeah, they have. Bayer Leverkusen in there, Borussia Dortmund, Schalke. No huge surprises, really. Hoffenheim up there. Eintracht Frankfurt is good to see. Stuttgart have fallen quite a lot considering they've won this league. And Fiat Arp. It's interesting that he went to Bayern. Not Bayern, Bayer. Hanover go down. Hamburg go with them. And Freiburg could still stay up. In fact, any of those 3 could stay up. Technically, Köln could get relegated, of course, out of there too. Leipzig have sort of dwindled, haven't they? I wonder how my boys St. Pauli are doing. In fact, I think the derby is today. St. Pauli versus Hamburg. I might need to check that because I really do want to watch that. Dynamo Dresden coming up. That's kind of cool. An East German side coming up into the Bundesliga. Nuremberg coming up. Ingolstadt, I guess, are in the sort of relegation-y kind of play. No, St. Pauli are basically probably going to get relegated to the third tier of German football along with Holstein Kiel and Munster. That is a shame. Bad times for the St. Pauli faithful. Over to our friends in Serie A. They've still got a few games to go. Juventus top, though they could still bottle it. Inter up there, Lazio, Napoli, no real surprises. Milan, Roma sort of down there. Any real huge shocks? Cagliari relegated, likely to be. Crotone, Perugia Calcio. I've heard the name before, of course, so I can't imagine. Okay. We need to talk about Flammarion. This guy. Who's that Pokemon? Yes, it's Flammarion. I'm a fan of this guy. Bloody hell. His name alone makes him an absolute quality player. Why has this guy never come up on my scout radar? Or maybe he has. Maybe I just didn't notice the name. That's insane. Flammarion, huge fan of that. I found a guy the other day called Renildo. It's like a knockoff version. So there you go. That's Serie A. Let's go down to Serie B. See how we're doing down here with the 19 team. Oh, hello, what we got here? So, the playoffs, oh god, because there's all sorts of complicated playoffs, isn't it? Pescara, Provicelli, GG, guys. Spezia and Frosinone. Everybody's Calcio down here, good lord. Hang on, play out. I mean, is that like a... There's too many playoffs, guys, come on. So, wow. Salernitana, didn't they get relegated last season, though? Bologna coming up. Sassuolo were down at Pisa. Pisa. Pescara, Spezia. I've got pizza on the brain, lads. Provicelli. Imagine if they went up. Historic side, Siena going down. Carpi, Novara, Benevento. I forgot all about them, guys, when their goalkeeper scored that equaliser for him last season in real life. Cosenza. Okay. They sound like a bra shop. Okay. Moving on to La Liga. Sorry if I sound a little bit hyper this morning. I've just had coffee and got back from a 4-mile run, so I'm buzzing right now. Real Madrid, champions of La Liga. Guys, I guess they'll have this. It's not like real life. Wow, okay. Celta Vigo, third in La Liga. That is, miles behind, 32 points behind. They've lost 12 games and they've come third. Athletic Club, where the hell are the good side? Sociedad, of course, doing well with, where's Obregozo? I'm interested in that. We might have to have a look at that one. Atletico down there. Sevilla, really good goal difference, but just, I guess, drew too many games. Real Oviedo doing well as well. Any huge surprises down there? Gijon, Cordoba, Deportivo Alaves going down. Right, I want to find out what happened to Obregozo, because he must still be here. Oh, by the way, right, I need to show you this guy in a minute too. Where is he? Is he left? Oh, there he is, Christian Obregozo. Yeah, is he... He's still bloody fantastic, isn't he? This has probably got to be his worst season. In fact, it is, yeah. His worst season. Well, then again, he only played 23 times and he still scored 18 goals. So if you extrapolate out, he probably still would have been off one of his fantastic seasons. But yeah, what did I want to quickly show? That's right. This guy I was looking at, Brian Apapalo. He was a guy I nearly signed when I was looking at strikers. Can you understand why? He's 6'8". 6'8". The man, as I would always say, the man is a giraffe. But a 6'8" striker. That is insane. His heading's only 12, but how is his jumping reach not 20? He doesn't need to jump. That is insane. Anyway, yeah. So that's La Liga. We'll quickly show you. La Liga Dos or La Liga Dos or Liga 1, 2, 3 because that makes perfect sense. I know it's a sponsor. Deportivo La Coruña coming up. Girona probably coming up. Oh, they're definitely coming up with them, I think. Getafe, Real Zaragoza, Leganes and Huesca. Going down Cadiz, Real Betis B, Villarreal B and Malaga B. So all the Bs are going down, which I guess is good. How many B teams are in the second tier? This is absurd. Look, Castilla, Barcelona B, Valencia Mestalla. All of these teams, apart from Cadiz, that just seems a bit... I don't know. I'm not a fan of that stuff, but that's just probably the Luddite in me, I suppose. Right, let's move over to... What was I going to show? Oh, that's right. Squad report. Let's do that. Elcho Bofa. What a time to score his first ever goal for the club. He's got 56 league appearances for us and 1 goal, and it was the second goal that wrapped up the Premier League title for us for the 21-year-old. He is wanted by Arsenal. His contract's only got 2 more years on it, so one of the things I'll look to do in the summer is probably get Elcho on a new contract. I think that's a sensible plan. Anyway, I'm not going to be too in-depth on this because we can do that in another bit. Riga Booty is joining Toulouse very soon, so we're about to lose him, which is a shame. He's gone on loan to Middlesbrough and Sheffield United. Riga Booty has given us a lot over the years, 178 league appearances for the club. God knows how many appearances in all competitions. I mean, just take a little look at this. Overall, this doesn't count non-competitive as 29 there. None that season, because, oh, that's of course, yeah. 43 there, 38, 37, 30, 17 that season, 6 that year. Like, he's definitely given us a lot back in. I mean, look at those seasons when he was scoring 7 or 8 goals a year. He was phenomenal for us. Regan Booty, take a bow, son. He has been a legend for this club. Genuinely, I've been a huge fan of Regan Booty. He's one of the few sort of real players I've ever had in one of these saves that have become such a fan favourite. And I'm sure the name is definitely part of it, but well done, Regan. Bruno Bridges, he's played 6 games for Estoril. The only games he's not played for us, 27-year-old Bruno Bridges. Now, I've just gone in and I've tried to schedule a game with Norwich, but for some reason the use for testimonial option isn't available yet. Now, is that because Bruno's not at the club, or is it because we've not ticked over into the new season yet? I might have to wait to do that. Or am I just making up this stuff? I thought it was 10 seasons you needed for a testimonial, and he will have definitely been here 10 years soon, so maybe we have to wait until that, because Norwich are available, so that's good, but I just can't sort it out just yet, which is a shame. I want to make it as late in the summer as possible. Felix Correa, a guy I didn't expect much from this year, has done a reasonable amount for us. You know, he scored some goals. He got 2 in one game, actually, I think in the Champions League of all places. So, you know, he's been a reasonable option. Andy Davison, he's on loan at Bordeaux. He's played 8 games for them. He's got 1 goal, 1 assist. He's not been brilliant for him, has he, poor old Andy? I love the guy, I do, but if someone comes in with a decent bid for him in the summer, then he's the sort of player that could leave, because he is unfortunately surplus to requirements, literally as it says there. Ivan Dimitrov, lovely old job. He does want a new contract, but I mean, to be fair, the way he's performed in the Champions League this year is sensational. A 7.88 on average over 6 matches, all starts as well. He might actually win Champions League Player of the Season, to be fair, so we'll see about that. Erik Thomson Svenningsson, what can I say? He's not been as prolific in terms of his performances for us this year. Only 6 games overall and 2 off the bench. And he's not actually contributed anything so much this year. Maybe a loan spell would have been better for the lad, but he is on a new deal, and maybe getting him on loan next year might be a good idea. Corbinian Gadis, only 6 substitute appearances this season. Did all right for us in the UEFA Under-20s League, and again, a loan spell I think will be very good for him because he's got quality potential, and he's listed as a wonder kid, although I see that more and more. So I think he definitely needs some game time next season, and maybe getting him a loan spell might be for the best. John Gray will be leaving to join Nîmes, which is kind of interesting. He's been out on loan at West Brom for the season, which is very, very nice. John Gray is a legend as well. 160 appearances for Stockport County, 11 caps for Ireland, 1 from the early stages. Guthero has been on loan pretty much continuously since he joined the club, so there we go about him. John Hume, still, whoa, his potential has dropped dramatically. Like, remember when this guy was a 5-star potential player? He just has never quite got there. Which is a shame because I've always been a huge fan of John Hume, but it does appear that he's just never going to quite reach the heights that we were hoping for him. And this season he's only started 1 game, and I think it's just because we've had better players, unfortunately. With bringing in the likes of Staiku, I just think that John Hume just wasn't quite up to it. Roland Kipra, who's going to be joining Montreal Impact in the summer, never played for us, but he did 102 games out on loan in Poland. Bless him. Okay. Jamie Lane. What can I say about Jamie? Great season for us this year. 45 appearances, 23 goals, 9 assists. He's 32 now, though. So like I said before, if I can find a replacement that ticks all the boxes I want to play in that position, and I can sign them relatively cheap, then I would be tempted to move Jamie Lane on, because he was wanted anyway. Because for a start, he'll get the wages off the bill and that highest earner clause, which will allow me a bit more freedom in the wage market. And also, I think it's the only time we're ever going to get any money out of this player, frankly. And I still think there might be some value left in him, but only if I can find the right deal. That's very much dependent on that. Carter Makengo, what a lad, by the way. He's been so good for us over the years. 72 appearances, not as many this year, but he's still done a stunning job. Look at this, an average of a 7.57 in the Champions League. Over 6 Premier League games, he's still averaged over a 7. He scored a goal. He is a player that just seems to have bags of energy, and he's brilliant. Alex Martinez, right? A guy I brought in just to sort of fill a gap because I wasn't expecting Vigo. I've been really impressed with Martinez this season. 30 appearances, 1 goal. He got 5 assists in the Champions League, 4 assists in the Premier League, and a goal. Huge fan of Alex Martinez. Fair play, son. But obviously, Julio Vigo's here to take your job. Julius Meyer, very impressed with him. The only slight issue is his height, but I still think he's done a solid job from every other aspect of the defensive game, frankly. And he's a player for the future as well at 20 years old. He's nice to see. Talakamaz not getting game time at Real Madrid. I'm wondering if there might be an opportunity to bring him back at some point. You never know. David Mello had less games this year, 19 starts, 14 off the bench. But what I would say, right, and this is quite important, look at his output. He played 7 less games this year, but he got the same number of goals, and he actually got a better average rating overall. So David Mello's probably had a better season this year, despite not always being in the first team. Still not as good as his first year for the rest of the club, but I'm pretty content with that. I think he's still got a long way to learn, but he's definitely improving. He's worth £30 million now, the youngster. You know, if the right offer came in, you never know. I don't know if he's got a release clause or not, actually. He probably does. It's probably relegation release clause. No, he doesn't have a release clause. Okay, that's that yearly wage rights though. Bloody hell. I must have snuck that in his last contract. Liam Miller. Liam Miller. His contract's up next. He's worth £24 million now. 215 games for Stockport County. What a lad. You know he's getting a wage extension in the summer. I'm not losing Liam Miller. I refuse to lose him. There's a reason why we need to keep him at the club. He's always going to be there for us, you know. Look at the number of competitions he's played in this season, by the way. 7 starts. He's not had as much luck this season. Only 3 Premier League goals, but he's mostly played off the bench, you know. Played 3 games in the Champions League, didn't really impress. But I'm going to extend his contract anyway, because I feel like Liam Miller is just an absolute legend of this club, and he'll always be around. And he's a backup anyway, so I'm happy to keep him around longer. Alexandru Negoita, brilliant. Potential, sure. I'm still on the lookout for a better goalkeeper, but the fact is, for the price we signed this guy for, 4.5 million, he's already worth nearly 20 million pounds. So again, we're making money on these deals if we could actually, if the right offers come in. I would be tempted to try and move Wilson on in the summer though, because he just does some weird things, John Okoro has been out on loan at Fleetwood Town and barely played, unfortunately. But I am still tempted to keep him, maybe get him a testimonial down the line. I don't know, though he is only 23 years old, so it's Nigerian again now. The guard dog. He puts in an above average level of performance in the Premier League. He really does. A 7.67, a couple of goals. He just does things. I don't know how he does them, but he just does. He's been fantastic for us when he's been called into action, in all honesty. He's a player that performs above what his stats would suggest. A little bit like Bruno Bridges, in all honesty. I love this guy. He's so reliable. Craig Palmer. He hasn't had the best season this year. 24 games for Fenerbahce, 8 goals. But what I would say is he's still got a decent, average rating of a 7.04, 3 assists as well. He's scoring goals in the Turkish Super League. The guy clearly has talent. He's worth a lot of money. I just wonder about Craig Palmer. Again, if the right deal came in, I'd be tempted to potentially move him on because he's clearly a quality player. But I just don't think... I just don't think he's good enough. Edgar Palomino, a guy that never really... I think he's played one game for us in his entire career. Yeah, once he's got a game for us. I think it was off the bench. Wants to commit his future to the club. Well, your contract's up soon, and I thought you'd already signed a new deal with someone else. So... I don't know about that one. That's an interesting one. He'll probably want loads of money, though. That's the problem. John Pirot, who, of course, was responsible for some weird stuff. He went on loan to Leeds, and he's done okay, I guess. But he's definitely one for the future, and long may he continue. I think he's going to be a great backup to Julio Vigo next season anyway, in that right-back slot. He's more of a defensive type of player, but that's fine by me. Morgan Roussel, easily probably one of our best players. He's just a stunningly good player. He's still only 20 years old, and he's just getting better and better and better. 113 appearances for Stockport already. He just puts in a shift. And I don't think he has a release clause either, which means he is just going to be... Even if we get big bids for this guy, I just want to hang on to him for dear life. Abdulrazak Slawi, of course, another absolutely fantastic player. 63 appearances for us now, 11 goals this year, which is, I think he's really stepped up from last year. It certainly feels like it. Yeah, look at this. 8 goals this season. Same average rating overall, but definitely he's doubled his goal output, and that is a big step up for me. In my mind, that's a huge step. Liviu Staiku, this guy, I did not expect him to be as good as he was. 5.5 million this guy joined for, and he's already worth 30 mil. I genuinely did not expect this guy to be as good as he was. This season, he's contributed 8 goals and 3 assists in the Premier League from a box-to-box midfield role, and I'm super, super pleased with that. And he also got some Champions League goals for us as well. I mean, overall, he's into double figures for the year. He definitely has earned his place. Greg Stubbs, Stubbsy. There you go, 14. He's got 28 league appearances to his name, and he's still never scored a goal. That is mental. He's got 6 assists and 2 Player of the Match awards for Aston Villa, but still has no goals to his name. Oh, that is so strange, man. I cannot believe that. That is the weirdest thing. So, in his career, this season at Aston Villa, so this season overall, in fact, let me just take a look at it, because he actually played some games for us before he went out on loan. So, yeah, 1 goal in the Cup, 1 goal in the Continental appearance, and then you got 2 there. And that's it, I think. 1 goal on the Cup off the bench there. Where's the Continental appearance? Oh, it was a Cup. So yeah, Greg Stubbs. He's played so many appearances and still never scored a league goal, bless him. Well, he's definitely going to come back to the club, and we'll see what we can do with old Greg Stubbs, because I still like... He's a wonder kid. There's a long way to go for this guy, and he's going to keep improving. He just needs to improve his ability to actually put the ball in the net. That is for sure. Nicholas Taffertshofer, a guy who I did not expect to get any game time this year, has actually started 14 matches for us this season, the young German. He's not up to scratch at all, and we are going to look for another DM, but he's done a decent job for us. Carlos Toril, a player that just seems to stay at the club forever, despite really never getting much of a game time because of his positioning. But, hey, he just... keeps sticking around, get him out on loan perhaps. Julio Vigo, I'm a huge fan of this guy. I really, really am. In the Premier League, 12 appearances, 4 assists, an average of a 7.61. He's been the missing link for us after all these years. This is the guy that we've needed the entire time. Super pleased with that. John Villa has come in. I mean, you can't argue with this for a striker. You really, really can't. Just looking at his stats for us, which is, I think, more important here than his stats for Monaco or whatever. In the league, he's got 7 appearances and he's got 6 goals and 4 assists. Sorry, 8 if you count off the bench. A man of the match award and a 7.74. This is the striker that we've been missing. That kind of record is the kind of thing that could catapult us to a Champions League, you know? In the Cups, in continental competitions for us as well. He's got 1 goal in the Champions League as well, and an assist as well. He's just got it to his game, and I'm super, super pleased to finally have him at the club. Wilson, of course, just doing Wilson things. Made 13 appearances this year. You know, didn't do a bad job, to be honest. Kevin Wright, you know, he's still got a long way to improve, but overall, 19 goals this season, 13 in the Premier League, 6 assists, 6 in the Champions League, too. He's been really good in Europe, has the old Kev. There's still a place for him at the club, and he's looked good. He's got the 4 goals against Man United were really, really good. The one against Manchester City on the final day was fantastic as well. He's got it. He just needs a little bit more of it, so to speak. And Abasolo, totally forgot about him. My God, what a season he's had. His stats overall, 13 goals, 17 assists. So he actually got less goals than last year, but his assists, his creative ability, more than tripled his output of assists in the league this season. He's been let off the leash, and, you know, as much as this potential ability thing here, and Abasolo is just another one of those players that just seems to play above his stats. I'll be on the lookout, but you never know. David Aqueba, good luck. The squad just keeps going. He's starting to decline a little bit on that one, which is a bit of a shame. He's not had enough game time this year, and I believe that's most of the reason. Didn't cost us much, though, when you think about it, though. So, again, still worth a lot of money, and very soon he's going to count as homegrown. Albert Asner's on loan at Derby County, not much about him. Josef Beiser, 2 games off the bench. He's going in the summer. I will make it my life's work to get rid of him in the summer. His attitude was shocking. Kamil Bednar, what a lad. What a brilliant left back this guy's been for us. 7.57 in the Premier League, a goal, 8 assists. Brilliant player. And we're back to Elcho Bofa. Really pleased with the squad at the moment. Now, let's get into some stats, because this episode is going to be bloody long at this rate. I'll have another sip of my coffee, and let's figure out what's going on. I've just been thinking I might go back in for that Florian Karius guy, the right back I showed you guys. I know he wanted loads of money, but I feel like I've just had a look at him and he's still not got a club, and I feel like I might be able to, because someone said maybe offer Hoffenheim some money, but the thing is, I just looked at that and they wanted 70 million, even though his contract is up in less than a month. That's mental. Like, why on earth would that work? So I might go back in and try and persuade him with some offers, because I don't want to give him loads of wage money, because then Jamie Lane would get that too. So I want to, basically what I will do is probably offer him the same amount of money as Jamie Lane, and then put a load of stuff in bonuses instead. That way we don't end up with triggering Lane's clauses and whatnot, because that could be deadly, because he wanted 250k plus loads of stuff last time, and I can't afford to do that. Anyway, so let's look at this stuff. Penalties taken. We've had 10 pens this year, and we've only scored half of them. And most of those were scored by Liam Miller. I think 3 of the 5 were scored by Liam Miller. Or maybe, no, I think 1 was scored by Kevin Wright. I can't remember. Headers 1, ooh, mid-table. Headers 1 racing towards the top, which is what I see. Most yellow cards. It's weird. When I first switched over to this new style of play, we were actually quite good on the fouls, and then it got a lot worse, which is kind of weird. Red cards, though, only 1, so I'll be alright with that one. Goals overall, 89 goals. Top goal scorers in the Premier League, which is what I wanted. Cross completion, up there. We were at one point winning this, but we've obviously dropped off. Crosses completed, right up there too. Goals from corners, 11. We've really, really upped things from corners. At one point in the halfway stage, this is the one thing the patch does seem to have changed. We were dreadful at scoring goals from corners before the patch, but because for some reason we'd sort of got worse at it. But since the patch, we've actually been much better at getting them. Roussel's picked up like 3 of them just since then. Direct free kicks, 3, it's all right. Indirect free kicks, we suck. We've scored none. Not a single goal from an indirect free kick. I just can't seem to get my players to do what the AI players do. It's a shame, because that seems to be the only way to score them, is back post. Pass completion, 78%, that's all right. Passes completed, we're a bit on the low side, actually. Chances created, though, overall, 81 chances. Shots on target ratio, top of the league, it's what I want. Shots on target overall, interestingly, not the most. Conversion rate, though, is the best in the league, and that's what we really, really needed. At one point, this was starting to lag as well, but we've really picked that up. Fouls against overall, which is really nice. We're not winning that much at all, actually, there. Dribbles per game, 8. You know, that's pretty solid. Defending, look at this. Joint second best defence in the league, only 31 goals conceded. I think last year we conceded 41, so that is a huge drop. We've been so much better defensively. I want next year to be the best defence in the Premier League, and we're really, really close to that already. Super, super pleased. Conceded from corners. This is the thing. The only goal we conceded from corners this year was that one against Liverpool, the one that Joe Gomez scored. And this has been the main difference. For some reason, even though I've mostly been training defending free kicks, we've been really good at defending set pieces this season. This is just superb. No direct free kicks conceded. This has been, I think, the reason our defence has got better. Conceded from indirect free kicks, still managed to concede 4 of them, bear in mind, even though that's what we've been training the most. Clean sheets, only 14, interestingly, even though I think it's just because we spread out a lot of these goals quite a lot, which is a shame. A lot of like 3 1s and 2 1s and 4 1s. Fouls made, we're quite we're about to foully boys. Tackles 1 though, not bad. Tackles 1 ratio, oh my lord, down at the bottom. That's interesting, actually. It could just be because we're tackling loads because we're so aggressive. Penalties conceded, 4. God, Leeds, look at that. Average attendance overall, obviously, we're going to be down at the bottom with 19,000. By capacity, though, dead heat. Sellouts, we've sold out every single home game this year, which is why, of course, the board are so into the new stadium, which, of course, will be at the start of next season. So I'm still looking into the name for that, but we'll work on that one, don't worry. Any more suggestions, obviously serious ones, do let me know, of course. Highest average attendance, obviously, is the lowest. Lowest attendance, yeah, we kind of knew that, which, of course, is still our maximum. Net transfer spend, 20 million. It's not too bad, really. Salary per annum, still the 13th highest salary. We just won the Premier League by spending 77. Look at that. That's crazy. 13th highest salary in the Premier League, and we just won it. Yes, lads. Right. Player stats. This will be an interesting one, actually. I'm kind of looking forward to seeing some of this stuff. It's a shame there's not a worst penalty taker option, is there? Yellow cards. I think we're going to have a couple. Stayku's probably pretty bad for this, isn't he? Yeah, he's a very foully man. Player of the match awards. We'll have a couple on here, I think. Lane and Abasolo with 6 apiece. Decent. Distance cover per 90 minutes. Anyone at all? Stayku. God, he gets about. Miller. Not Miller, Bednar, and of course Sloughy. Not too bad at all. Average rating overall, we'll have tons of these. We've got the top 4. Bednar, Roussel, Abasolo and Lane. Sloughy's 8th. Even Martinez is in there in 12th. Julius Meyer is in there in 17th. That is sensational. Headers 1. I feel like some of it... Wow, we don't have any at all. Goals overall, Pietro Pellegrini does win it in the end. Kevin Wright with 13 there. Abasolo with 13. That's nice to see. Minutes per goal, perhaps anyone on there at all? Jamie Lane, not too bad again. Kevin Wright, not too bad. Shots overall. Jamie Lane, 136 shots on target. What about the percentage? This is what we want to see. I want to see some players up here. Kevin Wright has the best at only 53. Remember when we had players in the 60s? Like, that's one thing we are missing. Conversion rate. John Villa, 18%. That's the difference. That, to me, is a clear difference. Team goals, penalties. Jamie Lane, 2 penalties scored out of 7. So there you go. John Villa scored a penalty. Miller scored 2 out of 2. And Jamie Lane, the player with the best penalties on our team, aside from John Villa, has missed 5 of his 7. But look at this. Not another player on this list has had... That is insane. The closest to him is players missing 1, and he's missed 5. That is total nonsense. There's no way that his stats would suggest that he would miss 5 penalties. That's crazy. But, yeah, at least we've got John Villa now, who can take the pens from now on. Assists, Abasolo. Bednar on there too with 8 key passes. I knew Sloughy would be on the top of that one. 59. The guy is a key pass machine, particularly now he's got that tries killer balls. It's only helped him even more. Abasolo, Lane, even Stayku's on there too. Chances created, Abasolo up there nicely. Lane and Bednar too. Pass completion. I don't know if I can have anyone on this one at all. Nah, I think our best player is 87. Cross completion, we should have some. Jamie Lane, 23. Nice. That's actually really good. Dribbles per game, I think it's unlikely we'll have anyone on there, yeah. Team conceded tackles per game. Oh, there you go. Elcho Bofa. Look at that. 5.31 tackles per game. This guy is like a pit bull. He's like a Dutch white Kante. I'm a huge fan of this guy. That to me, right there, has just shown just how important Elcho Bofa is to this team. The fact that he's getting more than, like, half a tackle per game more than the next best player in the Premier League is insanity. He is an elite defensive midfielder in that position, and he's only going to get better. Mistakes into goals? Please don't have any on here. No, always nice. Mistakes? We probably will have Bednar on here, I would have thought. No? Okay, that's good. Key tackles? Anyone at all? Julius Meyer, 9. Not bad. Nice. Key headers. Abasolo with 54. Bloody hell, nicely done. Interceptions? Maybe Bofa? No, I guess it's a different type of style. Headers 1 ratio. Alex Martinez, our right back, has won the most headers. I guess that's because he's faced less of them, and he does win them when he gets the opportunity. Conceded, obviously, it's Kepa, as you would expect. But Nagoita's only conceded 27 goals this year, so fair play to him. Clean sheets overall. Nagoita has got 10. Wilson got the other 4. Saves held. That bit's a little bit boring at that point. So let's move on to the actual player comparison analysis so we can work out what I want to do next year, although I'm already getting some pretty good ideas at this point. For once, it's actually nice to be able to compare goalkeepers, even if it's only a little bit. Wilson, obviously 2 years older than Nagoita. He's played less games overall. What I would say, though, very obviously here, is we concede less goals with him in the net. They've both made a mistake into a goal. Nagoita has got twice the number of clean sheets, but he's played way more games. Wilson's got the worst average rating, but I mean, that's very interesting. Wilson has clearly got something about him that we concede. I mean, I guess with the patch, I really wish the whole season was on like one solid patch, so it doesn't skew the stats in someone's favour that it doesn't need to, because we might be relying on data that's out of date, so to speak, compared to what it is, and I don't want to make decisions based on stuff that isn't applicable anymore. So essentially, I'm basically very happy with both goalkeepers. But again, if another option like that Bruno Ferran guy that plays for Porto. He's a guy that's been on my radar for a little while. He is an option, basically, but I feel like we've got 2 decent keepers right now, but there's always room to be slightly better, essentially. So that's probably enough about goalkeepers, in all honesty. There's not much to say. Okay, so right backs. We're mostly going to be comparing, obviously, potatoes and potatoes or whatever. But now that we've actually got our right backs getting further forward, it makes sense that we can sort of look at them from an attacking perspective too. And as you can see, Alex Martinez's output this year has been pretty sensational, in all honesty. But what's really evident is how good Kamil Bednar is at providing assists. Like, Dimitrov's played 3 times less games than him, but he's just not got that killer instinct of delivering a pass, and Bednar has 9 assists this year. Martinez the same. In fact, Martinez has done it even faster, but Vigo's clearly right on the horse there, slightly less, but right in where you want him to be. Now, what I would say, interestingly, is that Martinez doesn't create that many chances, but he does lead to goals, weirdly. Dimitrov does seem to create the chances, but they never seem to lead to goals. Bednar and Vigo doing decent jobs on that one. I still think that we're in a really solid position with our fullbacks at the moment, to be honest. Dimitrov and Bednar are fantastic with ETS in behind them, in all honesty. Vigo's going to be great first choice, and if I can get Florian Karius, then that will be the right-back slot set, and I wouldn't even have to spend any money from the transfer budget, particularly, to sort that one out. It would all be wages, which would be a really nice piece of business, frankly, if we could get that sorted, because our defence next year is going to be absolutely airtight if we can sort that out, and that could be the final piece of the puzzle defensively. Pass completed. Alex Martinez, again, very, very good, but Vigo's not too bad. They're all over a reasonable distance. I think Vigo will improve. And the fact is, I like the guy anyway, so I'm always going to be a bit more in his favour. Passes completed per 90 minutes. Key passes per 90 minutes. Again, a little bit less there. Martinez doing a decent job. Bednar, fantastic. Dimitrov up there as well. Vigo, it is interesting to see him do that, but I like a lot about his game. He has delivered some really good crosses that we've turned into some goals, but he does need to up that a little bit more, and there's other parts of his game that are going to need to come up to scratch a little bit. That's what I would say. Dribbles per game, Dimitrov is flying on that one, and again, Vigo down towards the bottom end of that. He really is a cross machine that perhaps isn't the best at the dribbling side of things, but he's got great physicals. So it's like, if he has to take on a man, he struggles a little bit, but when he's in space, he can deliver an absolutely perfect ball. So I do think someone like Karius might be a slightly better option if we can get him. There's a huge if. Shots on target, now, doesn't really count because they've not really had them, but this is the key thing for me. Look at this. 25% cross completion for Julio Vigo. That is astonishing compared to Martinez. Like, that is ridiculous. 11%. Well, no, it's not even 11% more. It's more like 50% more when you think about it in terms of actual percentages. That, to me, is what we were paying for. That ability to put a ball in like that. Dimitrov and Bednar, there's not too much between them, but you can see the drop-off between Martinez and Vigo. That is astonishingly good for Vigo. And that's why I was interested in him. Putting those balls in, finding someone like John Veer or Jamie Lane at the back post, and that's made a huge difference, I believe, anyway. Not only that, and this is kind of interesting, we're better defensively with him in the team too. He seems to be, I think it's because his physicals, he can get back and put in tackles when perhaps other players are a bit more lumbering, as you can see. He and Bednar are clearly the best two for the job on that particular one. Tackles 1 ratio, again, he is very good at the defensive side of the game, whereas Martinez and Dimitrov clearly slacking a little bit at that one. So you can see, for me, Martinez perhaps just got those assists because he was just putting balls in, but perhaps Vigo would have even more assists if he was in those positions putting balls in, and perhaps over a full season. I think he's a better and more rounded player for that role for us from a defensive standpoint too, because clearly we're better defensively when he's in the team. Interceptions. And again, Julio Vigo is better in the intercepting side of things as well. Bednar does outdo Dimitrov, but doesn't quite get close to ETS. So yeah, it's sort of backing up what I wanted to see, but there is some interesting stuff with the key passes. That's definitely one side of the game. Maybe he just crosses it rather than passing because he doesn't need to, actually. Headers 1, he's always going to win the most headers. But the fact that Vigo's on 82, that's pretty pleasing as well. He's certainly not slacking too much on that one. Bednar struggles a little bit, but he's not that much worse than Bednar. And Vigo's not bad. 82% is still very, very good. Martinez is just an anomaly on that one. So, honestly, from a defensive standpoint, we've got 3 solid players on the left, we've got Vigo on the right, and if I can sign Karius, we'll have 2 good players there, with Poirot as well as an option. I think defensively, we're pretty much set from the fullback position, if I can bring in Karius. Let's look at centre-backs now. Okay, so centre-backs. We've got Guarddog, Makengo, Morgan Roussel, and Julius Meyer. Those are the 4 that have played the most, or the only 4 that have really played for us this year. You can see who the first choice pretty much consistently was, which was Roussel and Meyer. But the other 2 have still played a decent number of games. Like, Nossa's got 17 appearances and Makengo's got 12. It's still a decent amount. It's very interesting to see. So passing, Roussel, Makengo, but again, they're all over a reasonable area, so pretty much neck and neck on that one. Passes completed by 90 minutes. You can see that Maya tends to just lump it a bit more, it would seem. More Roussel's a bit more composed on the ball. Team scored per 90 minutes. Nos, we score more goals on the team, but McKen goes down towards the bottom, but it's not a huge amount. Key passes, it's just interesting to look at this. Again, Morgan Roussel, that's actually interesting. It makes me think that Guard Dog is just lumping it, but he's lumping them over the top sometimes, and it's actually creating chances, whereas Maya really isn't doing that at all. Now here's what really matters to me, and that is actually quite interesting. Look at that. A huge difference when Nos plays. I don't know why I keep calling him Nos. It's my original nickname for him. That is a really stark difference. Maya and Makengo are both at 0.97. Morgan Roussel definitely a lot better. But it does make you wonder if maybe Guard Dog should be starting games for us, in all honesty. With that ability and that... maybe it's his height that's doing it? I don't know, but we concede a considerable amount less goals with the Guard Dog in the team. I mean, that goes without saying. And he actually has the highest average rating of all of them. He and Roussel are out top. And that kind of links in quite nicely. And not only that, but look, 93% tackles won as well. He is a really, really good defender. He plays more key passes. I think he just dallies on the ball less, in all honesty. He gets it out of the danger area sooner. And not like we're trying to play out from the back, but it seems like he has even less inclination to do so. Does he have any PPMs that maybe make him do that? Stays back at all times, plays short, simple passes. Maybe he's just not complicating things. That's very interesting. Interceptions, Morgan Roussel, Maya, but Sonogor is not that far behind, to be honest. He's right in that nice area. And again, headers won. 78 is the best header in the team as well. Roussel really should be doing better. Maya is pretty poor, but again, the Guard Dog is dominating on these stats at the moment. Doesn't commit that many fouls, but, I mean, that being said... like, he'd still probably, even if we, like, tripled this and put it to, like, what, that'd be 3,900, so right in line, that'd be 24 fouls per game. And Makengo, even less. It's interesting. What this has made me see is that potentially Guard Dog should be starting games possibly over Julius Maya, because he's just that much better at the moment. And obviously Maya's got a way to improve because he's a younger player, only 2 years, but he's got that potential ceiling. But at the moment, Guard Dog just seems to perform for us, really, when we need him the most. He has come up with the bigness. That's very, very interesting, actually. And again, looking at this for next season, like, Morgan Roussel is a star, Guard Dog is brilliant, Julius Maya's got a long way to improve, but he's still fantastic, and Carlo Makengo is an incredibly capable deputy to have around as a backup option. So if I found any, like, really good young centre-backs that I could bring in really, really cheap and that had amazing potential, then I would perhaps do it. But I certainly won't be signing a first-choice one at this point. I think our defence is really, really set. And like I said, if we sign Florian Karius, I think that could be the final piece of our defensive puzzle, to be perfectly honest. And the Guard Dog has turned out to be an absolutely inspired signing. He has really performed. Like, if you actually look at his average ratings for us in the Premier League, 10 games last year, a 7.5. 12 games this year, a 7.67. Even in, like, the Superliga with Bromby the year before, 7.68. He has really, really stepped up and become an unbelievable defender. Just because the stars don't suggest it, the guy does a job. And maybe next year there's a starting place for him in our first team. I have to consider it. So, I guess moving on to defensive midfielders now. We can sort of compare Bofa and Taffet-Schofer. Okay, so this is really what we're comparing. Now, obviously, it's not the same because, you know, Bofa's got 3 years on him. He's played more than triple the minutes, but it's still going to be interesting. I want to see how Taffet-Schofer can compare, even though I don't believe he's the player for this job. But I want to see just how good he is when he's actually played. So passes, he's not far behind, in all honesty. 1% is not that bad. He actually completes more passes, and you know, it's not too bad, really. He actually completes more key passes, which again, I guess could come down to him pumping it a little bit more. His tackles-won ratio is 5% less, but he actually intercepts a little bit more. Wait, how can that be right if he completes... or is that tackles per game? I don't bloody know. Key headers, none for him. Although he does win more headers, but not as many key headers. So that suggests something there. He does win more in the air, though, which is interesting. Maybe slightly taller. But he does lose... he doesn't win as many aerial challenges, or is that aerial attempts? Aerial challenge attempts. So he's not... why is I put... that's a silly one for me to put in there at all. But the point is we concede less with Bofa in the team. I mean, that is a quite obvious difference, and that to me is the main thing here. I should probably do some more metrics in here. I don't know, the clean sheets one, I wish that applied for defensive midfielders as well. There's not much to say. Both are fantastic, but I do want to sign a backup to him that's got a little bit more quality than Taffet Chauffeur. Maybe someone who's a bit taller and is a bit more of a domineering figure, similar to Charlie Dyer, but with better PPMs, basically. And I think that's really an area that we do need to strengthen, because we've had to rely too much on plugging the gap with square pegs in round holes than having a ready-made replacement to slip in there. And I think that's something we definitely need to look at. Signing at least one new DM, one sort of starting and ready DM, and one perhaps young with high potential DM to slot in there with Taffet Chauffeur and give us a real wealth of depth in that particular position. That's the one area where we're really lacking depth at the moment. So we definitely need to look at that one, that's for sure. Right, let's move on to centre mids. Okay, so centre mids. John Hume's only played 200 minutes, so we can kind of discount him, really. Akwebu's played enough for me to have a look at least. The main ones are Mello, Sloughy, and Staiku. Those are the ones that have played the maximum amount of minutes. I feel like I'm missing someone, but I can't seem to think of who it is. I guess I've just rotated these guys, and I guess when one of these two has been out, Mello or Akwebu's kind of just filled in. So, goals per 90 minutes. John Hume actually has got a goal, despite only being off the sub bench. Mello's done all right. Sloughy and Staiku, I mean, to be fair, all three of those guys have done really well at contributing goals to this team this year when they've played. Mello's played less games, so he's scored less goals, but he's done all right. All three of them have contributed a really nice amount. So it's nice to have three players that are fighting for those positions and all performing well when they're in the team. And honestly, from an assist perspective, Staiku's not that far off. And Mello, that's what I would say. When Mello plays as a box-to-box midfielder, which he does do, traditionally, he does tend to provide more assists, but that being said, he has also played as the playmaker at times, so that might skew it a little bit in his favour. And Akwebu's not done too badly either. Akwebu would have mostly played as the playmaker though, and that's why it's a little bit disappointed to see it so low down. But it's not the end of the world, I suppose. Pass completion, Mello, Akwebu, Sloughy, all at 85, which is what I want to see. Staiku's down slightly lower at 80 because he will have only ever played as the box-to-box, and same with Hume. But having all three of those guys tied on 85 is really nice. I would have thought Sloughy would have been out in front, in all honesty, but I guess maybe that now that he's playing these killer balls, it might be that he's missing up some passes a little bit more. Chances created, I mean, it's no surprise. Sloughy is miles out in front of everyone else on that one with 0.24, but he's just a better passer of the ball. Mello, again, in the same situation. Akwebu and Staiku. You can clearly see, though, that Akwebu is lagging behind his contemporaries in that position. Like he's not providing as much in terms of chance creation when he plays in the team, and that's definitely worth noting. So that's sort of sliding him down the pecking order, and it sort of makes sense as to why he's sort of the fourth choice midfielder in this team, because he's just not quite as creative as the guys in front of him in the team, essentially. Cross completion, not really that important in all honesty, because they're very rarely in crossing positions anyway. Passes completed per 90 minutes, this is insane. Akwebu does complete the most, and you can see that Staiku's right down at the bottom. And that's another thing, maybe Akwebu just dwells on the ball too much. He slows the pace down too much when he's in the team, and plays too many balls. See about key passes here. And you can see, again, Sloughy miles out in front of that one. Akwebu might make more passes, but Sloughy's just making more incisive ones, as is David Mello. So I'm already getting quite a good picture here. Staiku, we don't have much to compare him to, because we've not had, other than John Hume, another player that only plays in that role. So he's kind of in a league of his own, and to be honest, I'm totally happy with his performance this year. He's been a very, very strong signing. Only 5.5 million to be that good that fast. Super pleased. Tackles 1. David Mello, he's done a good job there. Staiku, nice at 81%. Sloughy slacking slightly because I think he just doesn't work quite as hard as some of the others from a defensive standpoint. But that's not what I expect from him, to be fair. And what I would say is he's not bad. He's not that great from that perspective, but again, Akwebu really slacking on that one. Mello puts himself about and actually is quite a good defensive player in those positions. He provides us a bit more. He's kind of like Andy Davidson. Like Davidson, he would have a good or relatively decent creative output, but whenever he was in that centre midfield, his defensive output was much, much stronger than the players around him too. It's not quite the same stark contrast as it was before. Obviously, Hume's going to be winning that, but again, David Mello is winning stuff in the air as well. Akwebu struggling on that one too. Sloughy, not bad either, actually. Headers 1%. Hume miles out in front, but Sloughy is winning more headers overall. So that's interesting. What about the defensive side of things? I guess David Mello will win this one, let's say. Yeah, because of his increased defensive ability, I think. He just makes us better in those positions. And I guess that makes sense because he is the one of these guys that I have actually played as a defensive midfielder this season. You know, because we did it in the Liverpool game. Now, I know we didn't win, but he wasn't bad in that position. It suggests that he is probably the best defensive player of the bunch. And this would certainly lead me to think that. And again, Akwebu, we've really struggled in games where he's been in the team. Now, that might be as well, though, because when Akwebu's played, it stands to reason that we're probably resting other players too, so he might have been playing in a slightly weakened side. There is that. He also has the lowest average rating of the bunch. Sloughy is vastly better than everyone else, but Mello and Staiku are doing a pretty decent job of it themselves. So For the midfield, I'm completely content with our starting midfield of Slawi and Staiku. David Mello has done a fantastic job as a player that can fill in for either of those two. Akwebu's okay, but I wouldn't mind signing another one, so we've got 4 really strong players in those positions. That might be an area I'll look into, so that we can transfer, because I just feel like we drop off too much when Akwebu plays. There's no real drop off when Mello plays. If anything, we get better defensively, but I want to have someone that doesn't quite drop the quality down as much. So maybe another defensive midfielder, and maybe another CM if we can pick one up on the cheap. Like, if we can find another Staiku type of deal, then I would be ecstatic for that one, in all honesty. Right, let's look at the wingers. Okay, so Correa and Miller obviously haven't played that much. Abasolo has played over 4,000 minutes this year. That is incredible, to be honest. A huge number of minutes, but it's interesting to see these two, in theory, Jamie Lane and Abasolo should outclass their opposition in basically every area, and that's what I'm hoping to see anyway, to make sure we've made the right decision. So, goals per 90 minutes, Lane 0.55, Abasolo dominant on that one. Correa's not done too badly though. Liam Miller really is lacking on that one. Only 3 goals this season compared to the 23 of Jamie Lane. It's definitely a reasonable amount less. Assists per 90 minutes. Abasolo up there. Liam Miller actually assists a fair amount with 5 this year. Abasolo dominant in that one. So Liam Miller still got a creative aspect. He got 2 assists in one game actually. I think in the 5-0 over Watford, or it might be in the 5-1 over Leeds he got 2. Correa struggling from a creative standpoint. Maybe Jamie Lane would have improved. I don't know. I'm not sure about that, but it's interesting to see that Liam Miller has become... I think it's because he doesn't quite have that ability to get past people like he used to, and maybe he's having to pass the ball more, whereas Jamie Lane can really crack on at people. So there is that potentially. Chances created per 90 minutes. Liam Miller still out on top. Abasolo in there too. Correa coming out bottom again. Liam Miller is not letting this die. The 28-year-old is clearly trying to prove something to me. And he's doing a bloody good job of it. Let's just see about cross completion. Jamie Lane, 23%. Really nice. Abasolo, despite having 22 assists this year, he actually only competes... Imagine if Abasolo was a better crosser of the ball. If he had the crossing ability of Julio Vigo, he'd have like 35 assists this season. It would be insane. It does make me wonder, if we find someone better, we should maybe look into that, because maybe it's the position and not the player. Maybe anyone with decent stats in that position could do that job, and maybe even better than him. Maybe we're missing out on something by not having a better player in that role. I don't know. Pass completion, Jamie Lane, decent. Abasolo, solid. Miller struggling a little bit. Key passes per 90 minutes. Jamie Lane does provide key passes, and Abasolo is definitely out in front on that one too. Shots on target. Liam Miller hits the target a decent amount, but they're all within a reasonable level. He also he has more shots on target per game. He's not bad for the dribbling too, to be honest. He's not exactly slouching on it. This is interesting. So we're going to lose Felix Correa in the summer because he's only on loan. John Okoro will be back, but he's not going to do a job for us anymore. There's no way. We need a right winger in the summer. And I mean, like, I want to find a first choice, first team right winger, which means that Abasolo might move into a backup role next season, but that's fine because he's a fantastic player, but I think we can do better because I think with a really good player in this role, we could get even more goals in this team. And on the on the left rather, I do want to find another player in that role if we can do, because there might be the option of moving Jamie Lane on for big money, just to do a bit of wheeling and dealing to get some cash flow, because he's on big wages too, and I feel like we can maybe find someone solid who's a bit younger and move him on if someone was to come in for a bid, and I'd have to find a replacement first, so I need to be having my eye on someone just in case the deal was to come to pass, basically. I want to make sure that there's a deal available, you know? I've got some ideas, but the problem is there's not a lot of inside forwards on the right actually available at the moment. That's why I was so excited when I found Jamie Lane in the first place. So we'll see. I'm all right with that. So that's kind of what I'm thinking here. Now, strikers is an area I know that we don't need to sign any, but I definitely want to look at their output. So, strikers. Now, I could include Bajsa and Gadais, but Bajsa's only played 32 minutes this season, so it's completely useless. And Gadais has only just played more than 90, and it's just not worth looking at that as a stat. So I want to see how Kevin Wright compares to John Villa. That's what I want to see. I want to see just how much better Villa actually is, and maybe Wright's better than we thought he was. So we'll see. Goals per game. As you can see, John Villa scores more goals per game on average. He's played 12 games for us in total, and he's scored 7 goals. Kevin Wright has played 45 games and has got 19 goals. So John Villa scores more goals. It's as simple as that. But where things start to get very much in his favour, to me, is the assists. This is the thing for me. Kevin Wright has got 8 assists this year, which is actually not bad. So an assist basically every 5 games. But John Villa at 0.47, that's more than double the number of assists per game. I mean, he gets nearly an assist every other game. That means in a full season in the Premier League, if he played every game, he'd be looking at sort of 17, 18 assists potentially from a strike. Now, of course, I don't think he could keep that up over a full year, but the fact that he's done it over this short spell of games, particularly with some really, really tough games. This is late-stage Champions League and a lot of games against tough teams like Man United, although I didn't play that game, to be fair. So I think John Villa is the man that we've been missing. To get 7 goals and 5 assists in 12 appearances is the sort of things that we could only dream about in this save. And what I love about this is it's like vindication for me in a way, because I was chasing this guy for 5 years or whatever, knowing full or hoping that he was the guy that could be the key that unlocked this team. And I feel like I've been proven somewhat right about that. Now, I don't want to claim that I'm right yet. I'll see how he does over the whole of next year. If he comes in next year and scores 30 goals for us and gets like 20 assists in all competitions, then I can only claim that I was right all along. Not that anyone disagreed with me about that one. I'm just right to myself, you know. So, chances created, we want to see... that's cross-completion, isn't it? Yeah, we're not really that interested in that one. I mean... His chance creation is basically the same as his assist. It would indicate to me that he basically gets an assist for every chance. Kevin Wright actually creates more chances than he does assists, so maybe the other players are letting him down a tiny bit, but it's still less than half. Passing, again, John Villa, slightly better, but it's enough to make a difference, I feel like. And he completes nearly double the number of passes. And I think that is a real statement of fact there. Because he's a better complete forward, he can come deep, get the ball, spread things, keep the play moving. It's inevitable. And look at that, key passes per 90 minutes as well. It's more. It's not a huge amount more, but it is definitely more. His shots on target is slightly worse, but it's not enough to make a huge difference to me, and he does hit the target more overall. He dribbles a tiny bit more, but not by much. He also covers more ground, interestingly. His average rating is vastly higher. So what this is letting me think is that Kevin Wright has had a solid season. He's been decent for us, but I don't think he's decent enough to be our starting striker. I feel like he's a fantastic substitute, can do a brilliant job against tired legs, and he will definitely get a lot of game time next season. But I don't think he's a good enough starting striker. I think John Villa has completely nailed down that spot for next year. I feel like he's going to get... Kevin Wright will get so much game time anyway, because we're going to have to... There's no way John Villa plays a full season without getting an injury. He's already had an injury in the brief spell he's been at the club, and he was out for 4 or 5 weeks, and he's already in another injury right now, which is going to see him miss another 7 weeks. So, you know... And also with options, you know, we've got other players in this. You know, Gaddice is still here. Bice is still here for now, but he won't be for much longer. Greg Stubbs will be coming back. Hopefully get him some game time. Craig Palmer. You know, there's options around the club. I really don't think we need to be signing strikers right about now. That's been the last 2 years in this save, and I think we finally found the one. So, bloody hell. Right then, I suppose it's about time I pick one of those words of the day, isn't it? Let me just have a little look around my desk. Okay, here we go. Here's one for you. The word of the day for this one is going to be Keenstone, because that is the name written on one of these knockoff batteries I bought for my camera, which I've not actually got around to using yet because the battery that's in it is so unbelievably decent. It's fantastic. It will last through most of my recording sessions. It only just was on the verge of dying yesterday, and we'd been playing a lot of games, basically. And I hadn't had a lot of time to charge it in between, like I normally do with the off-camera games, because, yeah, I always take it off charge in between. So, yeah, put your Keenstones in the comments. That'd be awesome if you've got this far into the video. And of course, if you like what you've seen, drop a like on it. That'd be awesome as well. So, yeah, I'll join you guys tomorrow for transfer goodies. I'll probably break out the pimp costume again because I don't really know what else to do at this point, and it's actually fairly comfortable to record in, I've got to say, as long as I can find it. Hopefully Emma's hasn't thrown it away or something. So yeah, I will see you guys then. Thank you so much for watching. Bye bye.